Hello and welcome back to TNN's coverage of the world's 9 best fantasy football players league. I'm your host, and this is what we have for you this week. Week 9 is in the books with another week of interdivisional play. Currently, the Turtle Squad leads 14-10. The Survivor Pool is now 1 week away from the return competition, and one unlikely team has been surging. TNN reached out to Luck of the Irish for comment.
Hey TNN viewers, just want to say thank you to the people over at TNN for reaching out for comment. Always happy to provide and give a little bit of insight as to what's going on with the Luck of the Irish. And as to a bit of a resurgence we've been having, as TNN has described, with going from a 2-4 or 2-5 team up to a 4-5 team, kind of jumping back into the tie for 6th place, and really putting ourselves back into contention for the playoffs, as well as staying in the Survivor Pool, when at times it looked a bit iffy. I'd like to credit it to kind of the front office on this one to get us started. You know, bringing in Kevin Moss as assistant GM and assistant head coach has brought a bit of confidence to the front office, and we've been able to make some good moves, go out and get DeAndre Hopkins, get a lot of great defensive pickups on the waiver wire. And overall, I think that's what's done it on the field side is those defensive pickups our defense has rallied around that, and we've had a couple of consistent performances where our defense is getting above 10 points from every player out there. So I think we're getting a really balanced and strong performance from our defense to lean on, and I think that's what wins in this league. You know, defense wins these games, and we've still got those offensive players that are, riding on top of that great defensive performance. So with that kind of balanced system we've been able to put together, I think we'll continue to ride this resurgence into a really good year.
And now we send it over to Brett to spin the wheel. And now, here is Danny Football with his picks for Week 10. Hey, what's up, guys? World's 9 best fantasy football players expert, Danny Football here, back with another week of expert predictions. Last week was really solid for me, going 5-1, bringing my total on the year to a very nice 30-24. My guest, Joe, unfortunately, was able to beat the expert, going 6-0 for the second 6-0 of all time, second this season, and securing himself a spot back here to pick in the playoffs. But now, it's a new week, there's a new guest, and a new chance to beat the expert. So guest, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Thank you, Danny Football. It's Danny Storts here, offensive coordinator, mastermind, rock of the team, historic franchise, undefeated, never lost. Huge fan of the show. I'm happy to be here this week. Looking forward to hopefully beating the expert.
Yeah, Danny, it's great to have you on. We always love to have true, real fans of the show on. And it could be the first time you beat me. We'll see.
Oh, and also, I'd like to take this opportunity to mention how my picks are being made this week.
Yes, please do.
I had a very enlightening conversation with my my girlfriend, Elizabeth, about the league, and we went over matchups, and I only told her the team names in the matchups, and she picked based on that. So we'll see how that turns out, but I needed to switch things up to really get a chance at beating the expert here.
All right, first up, we have the Pumper McNichols taking on the team formerly known as Team M. Vanek. Pumper McNichols favored at 68%. This is one that really could not be more lopsided. I've been very low on Team M. Vanek this year. They are a historically terrible team. I really think they need to just be turning over every possible stone, aggressively chopping their team from now up until the trade deadline. Literally any picks that they can get out of whatever scraps they have left on their team, they need to get in order to build for the future. Speaking of trades with Team Vanek, though, Pumper McNichols, they've got James Conner, they've got Melvin Gordon, both very recently coming over from this team, made their recent debut on the Pumper McNichols. Could be a revenge game incoming here. Alternatively, they could be sleeper agents for Team Vanek, and they just put up 0 points in Timmy's starting lineup this week. So, very exciting to see how that turns out. Really not too much to say here. Let's move on to more interesting matchups. I'm going to go with Pumper McNichols.
Great commentary there, Danny Football.
Thank you.
I'm glad that you decided to stick with Team Vanek branding, because I think true fans of Team Vanek who have been with him for as long as I can remember, people like Robert Cotter,
True.
Commenter on the Week 5 video, a massive Team Vanek fan, and then this team just goes around, turns around, spits in their face, and says, we're rebranding, trust the process, all this corporate mumbo jumbo, when in reality, they're not doing anything to make their team better. I think that they're only going down even further into the abyss of the toilet bowl. Nothing good is coming out of this team. You like to say to my team, see me in 5 years.
Yeah.
I'd like to say to this team, see me in 20. But not a lot to say about the team Pumper McNichols, but they got a great name, and so I'm going with them.
Would Elizabeth have been on board if Team Vanek was still Team Vanek, though? It's a question that needs to be asked.
I'll let you know in the comments of this week's video.
All right, next up, we have Ham and Throw taking on the Mental Brick Walls. Brick Walls favorite at 53%. Who do you like in this matchup?
Well, as I just got done explaining, Elizabeth did pick the winners for this week. And despite having nothing good to say about Ham and Throw, I unfortunately have to pick Ham and Throw on this one.
Wow.
But I would like to say the Mental Brick Walls. You know how teams have the asterisk by their name?
Yeah.
For Survivor? The Mental Brick Walls should have a massive asterisk next to their record.
Wow. Okay.
Because of the stat correction win that they got over UNL. The commissioner or some dark actor in the night, shuffling cookies around, handing out stat corrections where they don't belong, really working against historic franchises in this league. And I don't think I can stand for that, which, maybe picking Ham and Throw is a good decision this week.
Didn't you guys win on a stat correction earlier this year?
We're not talking about that. We're talking about the one that we lost.
Okay. Just wanted to confirm that.
You confirm nothing.
I feel like the Brick Walls, like you said, they've been surprising me. I did not see them getting to 8-1 at this point in the year. I think they're essentially a lock for the playoffs, barring something completely catastrophic for their team. They're a team that I have my eye on coming up towards the trade deadline. I think, they can really use that position of power, knowing that they're in the playoffs already. Hopefully go out, get a big piece, make a big push. I think it would be a great comeback story for the Brick Walls, going from picking second all the way to winning the league the next year. People love an underdog. For Ham and Throw, one thing that's, as an expert, I don't think is getting enough attention here is just how atrocious their wide receivers are. They have to start Wan'Dale Robinson and Kadarius Toney this week. Really just very, very sad state of affairs over at Team Ham and Throw. Their quarterback room is going to be looking very suspect next year after old man Tom Brady finally retires, and they've just got a ton of dart throws on their team who have not panned out at all. I see these teams going in very different directions. The Brick Walls, kind of like now. Ham and Throw, I've always hated. I'm going with the Brick Walls in this one. Next up, we have the SWAT team taking on Then He Waddled Away. This one is 50-50, a really close matchup. This is one that really means a lot to both of these teams. Both could really use a nice addition in the win column there. SWAT is really kind of fighting for their lives for the last spot to get into the playoffs. They've also been scraping by in the survivor pool somehow, even though they put up 140 points last week. Somehow, everybody on the SWAT team outside of Nick Chubb and Ramondre Stevenson has regressed, gotten much worse since last year. I know they're going to be crossing their fingers. The commissioner desperately wants TJ Watt to come back, the sack machine himself. Going to be a big addition to this team when he does. For the Waddlers, last week was great for them. They absolutely exploded. But unfortunately, they're going to be without Joe Mixon's 50-plus points this week. There's another team, like I mentioned with the brick walls earlier, I think could really use another pickup before the trade deadline. Their flex spots are just, very mediocre right now. Like, solid guys, you don't hate them, but they could definitely use an upgrade there. That being said, I do still think that they have enough to take down the SWAT team this week, and I'm going with Waddle in this one.
I think that's a good choice there, Danny Football.
Thank you.
Elizabeth happens to agree with you on this one, and I also happen to agree with you on this one, and I think fans of the show would agree with you on this one, based on the corruption in the league that Joe brought to light last week. I think that, I don't think a single fan of the show can be a fan of the SWAT team until he puts out at least a public statement, either noting where the cookies came from, Commissioner, where did the cookies come from,
The people want to know.
Or rescind your cookies, give them to the people. And until the commissioner does that, I think that no fan of the show can stand behind the SWAT team. So I'm going to have to go with Then He Waddled Away in this one.
Next up, we have the Texarkana Bandits taking on undefeated Never Lost. Bandits favored at 57%. Who do you like in this one?
Well, this isn't even a question. Elizabeth and myself, Miguel, Nick Schmitz, we all agree. It has to be undefeated Never Lost. We have 100% confidence in every single position on the roster. There are no problems finding a serviceable RB2, a starting tight end for this week, or replacing our star kicker for this week. We will have no problems with that. We will not falter. We will not waver. We will derail the train that is the Bandits, and we will come out on top.
Yeah, I think that's it's an interesting choice here. I know that, look, the Bandits, they had a pretty disappointing week last time. They were still able to pick out the win against just a very, very beat down SWAT team. Fans of the show, look, Danny, I know you're a fan of the show. Fans will know that I am high on the Bandits.
Absolutely.
I don't want to jinx the team, but it looks like I said, do not want to jinx. Looks like they may make
I'm knocking on wood right now.
I'm knocking. They may make their first playoff appearance this year in historic franchise history, first ever. Something bad could happen, and if so, I wash my hands. My hands are clean. I'm taking no blame for this. Things are looking pretty good for the Bandits right now. We're undefeated, never lost. I kind of just throw out my hands every week. I don't know what the direction is on this team. I feel like I need to, kind of bypass the spin, really, and the rumors being spit out there by defensive coordinator Miguel Romanello. And, that being said, I'm very glad to have the mastermind of the whole operation on the show this week. So, Danny, I'm huge on the Bandits. I need you to pitch me and tell me why I need to get off the Bandits train and hop on the undefeated never lost train. What is the strategic vision for the team?
Oh, Danny Football, I'm glad you asked. I will direct you to draft pick 2023 first round from Jacob Calathor, 2023 first round from Brett Catalinic, 2023 first round from Team Big Chungus, and our own 2023 first round pick. The vision for this team is the future. We are here to build for something historic and something that will last us for many years to come. And as the buy-in for the league starts to increase, our profits will start to increase. We can bring in more shareholders, We can bring in better management than certain Nick Schmitz, and we can really start to take off. So that is the vision for this team.
I mean, haven't you guys traded?
Sold.
Haven't you guys traded away your couple first round picks already? Like Najee's gone. Who else did you draft?
Yeah, it's all part of the plan.
Okay.
It's like trying to explain to you why God is real. Seeing is not always believing for some people. You just gotta have faith.
You know what? I think you convinced me there. With that being said, that does not help your team this week, and I'm going with the Bandits.
Fair enough.
Moving on, we have Bart Harley, Jarvis Landry taking on Blood, Sweat, and Beers. BHJL favored in this one at 59%. Big stakes for both these teams, fighting for a playoff spot, both kind of on that lower tier of teams that are contending right now. Like, they're both in, but very close. Both could really use a win. Blood, Sweat, and Beers, they've really been cooling off lately and could use a nice shot of adrenaline here. I don't know what Jacob's plan for this year is, but he really needs to get out of like this middling state where his team's not great, but also not terrible. I think he's got to do something, really make a move if he wants to contend. And, I don't know if that's in the cards for him this year. We'll see what he does over the next couple weeks. But the real story here is Josh Allen. If he has that nerve damage that people have been talking about, it's going to be a big hit for Bart Harley, Jarvis Landry. Their only other quarterback on the active roster is Matt Ryan, who does not even start for the Colts right now. So they're going to have to go to the waiver wire. And as we all know, there's no one good for quarterbacks on the waiver wire. This team, Bart Harley, Jarvis Landry, seems like they've been going all in for this year. So if I was Nooch, I'd be a little nervous right now. You might have to pull off a trade for some other quarterback if this injury to Josh Allen ends up being more serious and, has him out for the rest of the year. With that being said, though, I think that Bart Harley, Jarvis Landry still has the depth to overcome this Blood, Sweat, and Beers team, especially since they haven't been that great as of late. I'm going to go with Bart Harley, Jarvis Landry in this one.
Elizabeth, myself, we would have to disagree on that one.
Okay.
Bart Harley, Jarvis Landry. Worst name ever.
True.
Worst baby of the year competitor ever. In Bart Harley Jarvis, that is. Fuck you, Harley Jarvis. And for Blood, Sweat, and Beers, another great fan of the show. I often converse with him in the comments about our favorite TNM personality, your host.
Yes, please do. Speaking of which, everyone be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Comment down below. Engage with the historic fans of the show.
Ring that bell.
Thank you. You can't forget to ring the bell.
And speaking of your host, Danny Football, if you don't mind maybe asking for an autograph for me.
Oh, yeah. Your
much,
host,
much appreciated.
Your host loves to give autographs. I will communicate that to him immediately after the show.
Amazing. Thank you so much. So this one's for your host. I'm going with Blood, Sweat, and Beers this week.
Yeah, I like that. Going off in names alone, very obvious choice here. Bart Harley.
Absolutely.
Worst name. Possibly ever. Finally, in our marquee matchup of the week, this one might be a surpriser for the marquee matchup. We have Luck of the Irish taking on Team Big Chungus 22. Big Chungus favored at 53%. Who do you like here?
I think Tom and Kevin Moss. I don't mean to diminish Kevin Moss's ownership stake here.
Yes, of course. We respect all owners in the world's 9 best.
Absolutely. I think that the time for them to shine, based on their team name, if there ever was a time, it's right now.
True.
The Irish just coming off a big win over Clemson. I think luck has never been more on the side of the Irish. They're going up against a tough team. Big Chungus 22, clearly one of the best teams in the league, as they just beat the historic franchise, undefeated, never lost. Only a select elite group of teams can do such a task.
True.
There's only one every week, really, if that.
If
Sometimes
even.
there's zero.
It
Yeah,
averages less than one per week. It's a very high honor.
exactly. So, the luck of the Irish, they're going to have their work cut out for them on that one. However, fans of the show know that the team owner of Big Chungus 22, Will, not a fan of the show.
True.
Fans of the show got to stick together, and that's why we're going with luck of the Irish this week.
Yeah, I like that pick. This is one I had to put in here as the marquee match for the week. Both of these teams are 4-5, both on 2-game winning streaks. Both teams that I had completely written off 2 weeks ago. But both of them are on the outside, looking in for the playoffs. A win here, going to put them at 5-5. I think whoever loses this one, their season is essentially over. Should probably look to sell, getting in after going 4-6. Going to be really, really tough. This is one that I think the league is really going to have their eyes on. The Chunguses seemed to indicate a couple of weeks ago that they were looking to possibly tank, sell off the team. That hasn't happened yet, so could be big implications from this one. But that being said, fans of the show know, Danny, I was really glad you brought this up earlier. Fans know I have a working theory that Will, the owner of Big Chungus, is not a fan of the show. So Will, if you're out there right now, pause the video, send me a text, say, hey, Danny Football, I want you to talk about my team more next week. I would be more than happy to do that. I will give you a deep dive, deep analysis, say, great things about the Chunguses, the Chunga people. But until then, there's really not much to say about this Big Chungus team. I got to go with luck of the Irish in this one. Well, Danny, thank you so much for being on the show this week. I'm wishing you all the best of luck with your picks. Of course, not as good as me, can't beat the expert. But again, thank you for being on. And, be sure to give Elizabeth my thanks for coming up with a great new way to pick some teams.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Football, for having me. Hopefully, Elizabeth has steered me in the right direction on this week, and I'll be seeing you back here for the playoffs. But if not, no hard feelings. I'm a fan of the show. I know you're the expert, so I'll still be watching, mainly for your host, but I'll still be here.
And thank you, Danny Football and guest Danny, for those great picks. That's all the time we have this week. Be sure to come back next week to see how things shook out. I'm your host, and this has been TNN.